The morning mist hangs low over the ancient stones of the English countryside, casting a quiet, almost reverent spell over a scene that is about to host one of the most intriguing gatherings of the year. For those who follow the subtle shifts of power, tradition, and social theatre within the British aristocracy, moments like these are never just about a celebration. They are about the invisible threads that pull the members of this historic institution together, or occasionally push them apart. On this seemingly ordinary weekend, the air was thick with anticipation as the gates opened for a high society wedding that would draw the most prominent figures of the realm into a single, highly scrutinized space. The cameras were lined up, the lenses polished, and the spectators gathered, all waiting to catch a glimpse of the arrivals, to read the body language, and to decipher the silent messages hidden behind polite smiles and tailored garments. It is in these moments of public display that the true nature of contemporary aristocratic relations is revealed, offering a fascinating glimpse into a world where every gesture is calculated, every appearance is managed. And nothing is ever quite as simple as it seems on the surface. As the vehicles began to arrive, rolling slowly down the gravel paths toward the historic parish church, the atmosphere shifted from quiet expectation to intense focus. Every entrance into this sacred space is a carefully choreographed event, a public statement broadcast to millions who look for clues about status, favor, and the shifting dynamics of the inner circle. To truly appreciate the complexity of what unfolded over this remarkable weekend, one must understand the deeper context of how these public appearances function as a visual ledger of influence. If you find yourself fascinated by the intricate inner workings of these grand traditions, the historical depth of these narratives, and the ongoing saga of the world's most famous family structures, consider taking a moment to subscribe to this channel. By subscribing, you ensure that you never miss an analytical breakdown of these crucial moments, the subtle shifts in institutional power, and the historical context that explains exactly why these public gatherings matter so much in the modern era. The focus of the crowd soon turned to a sequence of arrivals that would set the tone for the entire day, sparking immediate conversation and an absolute flood of analysis across global networks. It was a gathering that brought together the old guard and the new, the traditionalists who view the family as a symbol of unchanging continuity, and the modernizers who look toward a more streamlined, media-conscious future. The tension between these two philosophies is not always spoken aloud, but it is written clearly in the way individuals move through space, the way they interact with the waiting press, and the specific circles they choose to form before stepping through the church doors. On this particular day, observers were treated to a masterclass in public relations, where the old-fashioned values of family unity were put on display, even as the underlying undercurrents of strategic positioning were impossible to ignore. The sheer scale of the event, combined with the presence of key figures who have occupied the headlines for months, ensured that every single detail would be picked apart by commentators looking for the deeper meaning behind the glamorous facade. What makes these gatherings so uniquely captivating is the historical weight that every participant carries, with lineages stretching back through centuries of governance, social evolution, and institutional survival. The setting itself, a picturesque village church deeply embedded in the local landscape, provided the perfect backdrop for a story that is as much about local roots as it is about global prestige. As the guests made their way inside, the collective gaze of the public remained fixed on a few specific individuals whose recent public profiles have been the subject of intense debate and speculation. The unfolding scene was a reminder that behind the grand titles and the historic vestments lies a complex web of human relationships filled with alliances, rivalries, and the constant necessity of maintaining a unified front for the benefit of the outside world. This weekend was no exception, delivering a series of moments that will undoubtedly be discussed for weeks to come as the implications of this grand gathering begin to settle into the wider public consciousness. The main focus of the day quickly centered around the grand and highly synchronized arrival of the York sisters, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, marking a definitive and powerful public return that sent shockwaves through the assembled press. Unlike the rest of the high-profile guests who were simply dropped off directly at the church door to give a quick, practiced wave to the cameras before disappearing inside, the sisters executed a highly strategic maneuver. They reportedly gathered at a nearby private house in the local village, waiting for each other to arrive separately before forming a unified, deliberate front to make their way down to the sacred venue together. Walking side by side, they appeared to be explicitly posing and mugging for the gathered photographers, delivering a clear visual message to the public and the institution alike that they remain firmly embedded within the fabric of the family circle. This bold entrance occurred against a backdrop of intense public scrutiny following recent disclosures from the National Audit Office revealing significant financial adjustments regarding long-term property arrangements in London. Yet, their presence during what has been termed a vibrant summer of high society appearances suggested a complete refusal to fade into the background, signaling instead that they intend to be visible at every major social gathering on the horizon. The tension within the gathering became palpable when Prince William approached Princess Beatrice, greeting her with a highly publicized kiss on the cheek that immediately ignited a frenzy of commentary and comparisons across digital platforms. To many seasoned observers, the heavy, symbolic nature of the gesture carried an undeniable weight, evoking famous cinematic parallels of familial loyalty and underlying institutional friction. This striking interaction served as a three-dimensional map of the current power dynamics operating within the palace walls, illustrating a deeper structural conflict that goes far beyond a simple familial greeting. The public display revealed a profound philosophical divide between the sovereign, who is steadily reasserting his traditional authority and administrative control, and the modernizing faction of the family. While the younger leadership is known to be highly attuned to contemporary media sentiment and the complex optics of public accountability, the traditional hierarchy remains steadfast in its commitment to historic values of internal reconciliation and visual unity. This display of absolute compliance from the senior ranks underscored the rigid, military-like structure of the institution, where adherence to the directives of the head of state supersedes personal strategy or modern public relations concerns. As the ceremony concluded and the focus shifted toward the celebratory details of the day, the extraordinary craftsmanship behind the bridal attire became the talk of the gathering. The bride, Harriet Sperling, emerged looking absolutely radiant in a custom design by Amelia Wickstead, featuring a flawlessly clean square-neck column silhouette that perfectly balanced traditional elegance with contemporary style. Beneath a finely detailed lace over jacket that was precisely nipped in at the waist, the gown extended into a dramatic 3-meter train inspired by classic 19th century silhouettes. A feat of design that required months of meticulous planning and hundreds of hours of delicate handcrafting to complete. Her veil was beautifully embroidered with wildflowers native to the picturesque county of Gloucestershire, creating a deeply personal connection to the local landscape where the celebration took place. Completing the ensemble were elegant heels and a magnificent historic tiara sourced from a prominent heritage jeweler based in Stratford. The presence of this stunning family heirloom added a touch of timeless grandeur to the proceedings, completely dispelling any rumors of behind-the-scenes tension and reinforcing the image of a harmonious, Deeply rooted family celebration, the visual spectacle continued with the arrival of senior members of the family, each utilizing their attire to project specific messages of continuity, heritage, and subtle institutional tribute. Princess Anne delivered a masterclass in classic British style, confidently re-wearing an elegant hat that she had first debuted an incredible 45 years prior at the christening of her daughter, Zara Phillips, in the early 1980s. This choice resonated deeply with attendees as a symbol of practical longevity and a quiet dismissal of fleeting modern fashion trends. Meanwhile, Zara herself captured the attention of the crowd in a striking lavender midi dress designed by Rebecca Valiance, complete with elegant puffed sleeves and a perfectly coordinated matching headband, accompanied by her husband who has remained a vocal, grounding presence within the extended family circle. The meticulous coordination of the event extended even to the sovereign, whose beautifully tailored waistcoat was perfectly matched to the elegant cream and yellow ensemble worn by the Queen. This subtle sartorial alignment reflected a unified partnership at the very top of the hierarchy, showcasing a classic preference for impeccable formal wear crafted by the finest heritage tailors of Savile Row. The elegance of the gathering reached its peak with the appearance of the Princess of Wales, who outshone the spectacular assembly as she stepped from her vehicle in a breathtakingly elegant Roland Mouret dress. The garment, described by fashion experts as a delicate shade of soft blush or refined taupe, featured a sophisticated dropped waist with structural pleats and a beautifully notched button collar, perfectly showcasing her signature approach to formal attire. She accessorized the look with a stunning hat by Jane Taylor, coordinated court shoes, and a historic three-stranded pearl necklace that had famously belonged to Princess Diana, adding a profound layer of historical continuity to her appearance. Her confident, radiant presence at the wedding was viewed by many as an incredibly important milestone, demonstrating a resilient and graceful return to major public events after navigating an exceptionally challenging period. The sight of senior figures putting their best foot forward served to briefly convince the public that the historic institution stands as an entirely unified and unwavering force, successfully masking the complex administrative negotiations and strategic differences that continue to shape its journey into the modern era. Following the beautiful and traditional exchange of vows, the King and Queen made a swift and dramatic exit from the parish church, boarding their distinctive purple helicopter to fly directly to the Epsom racecourse. This rapid departure highlighted the complex balancing act of the contemporary monarchy, as the sovereign sought to demonstrate his unwavering support for the British racing community, an industry that had historically received immense devotion from the late Queen and had recently felt somewhat distanced from the crown. Yet, this high-profile departure occurred under the intensely watchful eyes of the public, which remained far more captivated by the ongoing administrative undercurrents surrounding the extended family, particularly the complex public standing of Peter Phillips. In recent years, public relations teams have worked tirelessly to rebrand the King's eldest nephew as a grounded, hard-working individual deeply connected to the land, attempting to distance his public image from a somewhat checkered history of commercial ventures that had previously caused significant embarrassment within palace walls. These past commercial activities, which included high-profile international advertisements and the controversial sale of exclusive personal photographs to major publications, serve as a stark reminder of the delicate line modern royals must walk when navigating the boundaries between their historic titles and private professional pursuits. The deep institutional anxiety surrounding public perception and accountability was further magnified by the timing of a highly strategic media disclosure that appeared in the national press immediately following the wedding festivities, Clearly briefed from the camp of the Prince of Wales, the publication outlined a rigorous and far tighter approach to estate management and property allocation that will be strictly implemented once he eventually ascends the throne. This deliberate communication made it explicitly clear that the generous accommodation arrangements previously enjoyed by extended family members would be completely phased out under the future reign, establishing a definitive policy of clear blue water between the core working monarchy and non-working relatives. By organizing this firm pushback, the future king successfully projected a dual-faceted public image, showcasing personal warmth and civilized family solidarity by greeting his cousins warmly at a public celebration, while simultaneously reassuring a modern, tax-paying public that the future administration of the crown will be run with absolute transparency and fiscal responsibility. This disciplined messaging reflects a sharp understanding of contemporary media dynamics, ensuring that temporary public displays of family unity do not compromise the long-term strategic goals of a modernized, streamlined institution. This unfolding strategy highlights a broader, ongoing friction between the palace communications teams, as the senior staff of the reigning sovereign are known to be deeply unsettled whenever detailed plans regarding the next reign are publicly discussed or briefed to the media. Throughout his own exceptionally long tenure as heir apparent, the current king strictly adhered to the institutional protocol of absolute loyalty, never publicly deviating from the principle of undivided support for the reigning monarch or openly speculating on how he would alter the administration of the realm once he inherited the crown. The younger leadership, however, appears far more willing to signal a progressive, forward-looking agenda, openly discussing the necessity of structural change and modernization to ensure the institution remains relevant to a rapidly evolving society. This philosophical shift represents a significant departure from traditional palace operations, creating a fascinating dynamic where the current administration focuses heavily on immediate continuity and historic reconciliation, while the future leadership actively prepares the public for a much more contained and accountable structure. The fascinating personal background of the new bride, Harriet Spurling, adds a unique and refreshing layer to this traditional narrative, perfectly illustrating the complex social structures that define the modern British aristocracy. While much has been made of her noble maternal ancestry, her daily life as a dedicated healthcare professional and a hard-working single mother resonates profoundly with a public that increasingly values authenticity over mere inherited status. In the context of British society, the concept of being well-connected often has very little to do with personal wealth, and her background represents a growing contingent of individuals who navigate the highest social circles while remaining firmly grounded in the realities of professional public service. This unique combination of traditional roots and modern work ethic is precisely what has captured the public imagination, transforming what could have been a standard high society gathering into a genuinely heartwarming spectacle that briefly managed to project an image of complete normalcy and modern relevance upon an ancient family structure. As the grand gathering concluded and the guests departed into the late afternoon light, the event left behind a wealth of material for ongoing analysis regarding the future of the institution. The celebration served as a powerful reminder that every public appearance, every carefully coordinated garment, and every shared gesture under the gaze of the media is part of a grander, ongoing effort to maintain institutional legitimacy in the 21st century. Behind the glamorous facade of historic tiaras, custom designer gowns, and traditional military protocols lies a resilient and deeply strategic organization that is constantly adapting to internal shifts and external pressures. The strategic maneuvers witnessed over this remarkable weekend, from the unified return of the non-working princesses to the calculated public responses of the future leadership, demonstrate that while the personnel may change and the power dynamics may